day, everyone. My name is Joanna Incanubas.
And I am Lyra M. Aguilar.
For today's video, we are going to tackle the topic for our subject in disaster readiness and risk reduction.
And for today's video, our topic is all about
Fire hazards. March is one of the hottest months of the year in the Philippines. According to the Bureau of Fire Protection, this is also the time with the highest number of fire incidents are reported. Fire brings about the destruction of buildings, loss of livelihoods, and lives. It mainly occurs because of the negligence and lack of awareness of different of fire hazards. Hence, to reduce the dangers caused by fire, the month of March declared as the Fire Prevention Month in the country. During this month, the campaign for fire prevention is still intensified. Okay, so like typhoons and thunderstorms, fire is also a common hazard that can turn into a disaster. A simple ignition can easily spread and devastate a home and community. So, before anything else, let us first define what is fire. Fire is the rapid oxidation of flammable materials accompanied by the production of light and heat. So, the discovery of fire has brought significant advancement to people and industries. So, aside from being used as an external source of heat and light, it is also used as a power source. Natural fires of low intensity may benefit the environment and restore ecological balance through the removal of pests and plants that compete with other species of nutrients. Okay, let us move on elements of fire and stages of fire development. So fire is composed of three elements, namely heat, fuel, and oxygen. So these three elements from the fire triangle are seen in figure 2. So a fire starts when the fuel is heated from an external source and reaches its ignition temperature. And then oxygen reacts with the fuel to sustain the fire. So once fire has started, it will continue to burn until the element of the fire triangle is removed. So let us move on in figure 2 and now let's hear in figure 3. So in figure 3, it shows the 4 stages of fire development. It is during the incipient stage where ignition occurs. So the fire has just started and has not yet affected to the large area. It may produce a small flame and some smoke, but the heat of the fire produced is still low. Again, it is still low. It would be best to extinguish the fire at this stage while it is still small, right? Okay, and then the fire reaches to the growth stage when it continues burning by itself as it uses its own heat to burn fuel sources around it. So smoke is already visible and starting accumulating. The temperature of the affected area will start to increase and the fire will continuously grow bigger as it burns more fuel. So when the fire reaches its hottest point, it is now in the fully developed stage. During this stage, firefighters like mga bombero will likely extinguish the fire from a distance as it's dangerous to go near or enter the vicinity. So, and then, when the fire runs out fuel to burn or runs out of oxygen, it now enters the decay age. So in this stage, new fuel must be added as it will cause the fire to reignite. Again, the three elements of fire, namely heat, fuel, and oxygen. And the first stages of fire development, it is during incipient stage, growth stage, fully developed stage, and decay age. Again, in incipient stage, wherein ignition occurs. So the fire is not just it is still low in this kind of stage. The fire is still low, so it would be the best to to extinguish the fire while it is still low. And next, in the growth stage, it will continue burning by itself. So in this stage, smoke is already visible and start accumulating. And next is the fully developed stage, the hottest point of fire wherein ang mga bombero dili na kay sila muduol sa fire kay init naman hottest point, so they may go a distance to the fire. Next is the decay age. So in this stage, new fuel must be added as we will cause the fire to reignite. So in this decay age, it is very worst in this area of a fire hazards.
Now, you already know what is fire, the three elements of fire, and the four stages of fire development. So now, let's move on to the causes of fires. Many fires start due to negligence, such as leaving the stove unattended or by not organizing the storage cabinet. Many things that we find useful in our homes, such as paper, paint, cooking oil, and electrical appliances can ignite and burn easily. The following are common causes of fires. First, faulty electrical wiring or connection.
Faulty wiring shows some noticeable signs. For example, dimming or flickering lights are signs of bad wiring. Plus, if you experience frequent blown breakers or fuses, there's a good chance that faulty wiring may be to blame. Other common symptoms of faulty wiring include charred or darkened outlets and switches.
Second, LPG related.
Workplaces which use flammable substances, for example, LPG or high pressure applications like kitchens, laundries, and boiler rooms, are at risk for fire and explosion. The main hazards are gas leakage, followed by ignition, or when mixed with air, it is highly flammable and potentially explosive.
Third, neglected cooking or stove.
The National Fire Protection Association credits the ignition of food as being the culprit for nearly two-thirds of kitchen fires. Whether frying, baking, or broiling, leave yourself with enough time to cook so that you don't need to crank up the stove or oven temperature.
Fourth, lighted cigarette butts.
Careless disposal of smoking materials and cigarettes is one of the leading causes of fatal residential fires. Most smoking fires start in the bedroom, living room, or den when cigarettes or burning embers are dropped on upholstered furniture, bedding, or trash.
Fifth, left unattended open flame, torch, or solo.
According to the Bureau of Fire Protection, one of the top three causes of fires is open flame. Fires caused by open flames can either be triggered by torch, candle, or burning gas stove left unattended. The top three fire occurrences recorded hit residential areas, industrial, and mercantile or commercial buildings. Open flames cause fires, explosions, destroy biosafety cabinets, and ruin facilities. Risks for personnel can be anything from burn injuries to deaths.
Sixth, left unattended open flame, candle, or gasera. 7. Matchstick or lighter keep near flammable materials.
Increase in the use of lighters rather than matches, there follows an increase in lighter-related fires and burns associated with misuse by children. There also seems to be an alteration in the age distribution. Lighters are easier to ignite than matches. In many cases, so younger children more frequently are involved in lighter-associated fires or burns. Several reports now have implicated children as young as 18 to 20 months old.
8. Direct flame contact or static electricity.
When a static charge exceeds a certain level, spontaneous discharges and sparks can occur. This, as explained before, may lead to ignition of the fumes and most likely a fire.
9. Neglected electrical appliances or devices.
Most electrical fires are caused by faulty electrical outlets or worn out sockets that aren't properly grounded. With age, the wiring behind sockets and outlets wears, the wires loosen over time and can eventually break and cause a fire.
10. Unchecked electrical types of machinery.
Machinery fires happen because someone is doing something they shouldn't, or storing combustible materials too close to operating machinery. Hot work in unauthorized areas.
11. Flammable chemicals.
Some chemicals like gasoline, paint thinner, and turpentine are just three of the most dangerous liquids. One reason is that people often store it improperly.
12. Incendiary device or ignited flammable liquid.
Incendiary weapons or incendiary devices are designed to start fires using materials such as napalm, tessmite, magnesium powder, chlorine trifluoride, or white phosphorus.
13. Spontaneous combustion.
Spontaneous combustion is often called the occurrence of fires without the application of an external heat source. Due to chemical, biological, or physical processes, combustible materials self-heat to a temperature high enough for ignition to occur.
14. Underplant pyrotechnics.
Pyrotechnics is the science and craft of creating such things as fireworks, safety matches, oxygen, candles, and etc. Pyrotechnics are dangerous and must be handled and used properly. Accidents happen due to the use of low quality product, unexpected even or due to an error on the part of the operator.
15. Bomb explosion.
Bomb explosion causes fire since the fire's radiant heat causes substance to expand and increases surrounding pressure until the container fails, either through a pressure relief valve or by rapid and planned disassembly.
16. Lightning.
If a lightning surge enters an unprotected residence by way of an electric power line, the voltages may be large enough to cause sparks in the house, wiring, or appliances. When such flashovers occur, they may short circuit the alternating current power system and the resulting power or may start a fire.
And 17. Others like forest fire, vehicular fire, and etc.
Vehicles catch fire during an accident caused by a leak in the fuel tank. Forest fires are uncontrolled fire in a forest, grassland, brushland, or land sown to crops, caused by natural or artificial fires linked to land clearing and deforestation in tropical temperature and etc.
Flammable materials could also ignite on their own in an event referred to as spontaneous combustion. This happens when an object produces its own heat without absorbing heat from its surroundings. When it reaches a temperature enough for ignition, it will start a fire by itself. Everyone should be mindful of materials that are prone to spontaneous combustion, such as spilled oil, oily rags, paper, dried leaves, or hay. It is better to store them in well ventilated areas or outdoors to prevent ignition and to easily dissipate the heat.
Now you already know what are some causes of fire. Now let's proceed to the precautionary and safety measures. So uncontrolled fires, whether natural or man-made, may lead to injury, death, loss of livelihood, and damage to property with its toxic fumes in high temperature. So, moreover, one should be aware of the precautionary and safety measures for fire. So, this includes the following. First, Never leave a fire unattended. Whether it is a stove, a candle, or a bonfire, it is never safe to leave an open flame. If you need to leave, make sure to put the fire out. Second, always check the electrical equipment. A faulty appliance or electrical cord can easily malfunction and ignite. Similarly, an overloaded electrical socket or extension cords can heat up and ignite due to the overuse of electricity. Electrical wiring should be regularly checked to make sure there is nothing wrong with the system. Third, keep a good distance between things that can catch fire. Declutter the area and make sure that anything that can cause ignition and serve as fuel is distant from each other. Fourth, educate children and adults about fire safety. Curious children may accidentally set anything on fire. It is best to keep flammable materials stored in areas that are out of reach for them. Teach them about the dangers of fire and how it can be prevented.
Number 5. Store flammable materials properly. When fuels are exposed to ignition, they will easily catch and spread the fire. Always label them and keep them from any heat source. Be careful when using them. Wipe out any spills in the working space as they can easily to be forgotten and may cause a fire. Make sure there are no sources of ignition around the area. Number 6. Keep a fire extinguisher of a bucket of sand handy. Before using any flammable material, be prepared with materials that can put out the fire in case it occurs. Have a wet cloth, a source of water, or a fire extinguisher in strategic places that everyone knows and is easy to reach. Learn how to use a fire extinguisher. Pull the pin located at the handle, then aim its nozzle at the base of the fire. Slowly squeeze the lever while sweeping it from side to side. The PASS acronym for using the extinguishers means to pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. Number 7. Install fire alarms and smoke detectors. These instruments alert everyone and signal them to escape when they can and before the fire becomes bigger. Number 8. Know what to do in case of fire. Participate in fire drills. Be aware of the exit points of your house, school, or workplace. Educate yourself and the people around you about what to do in case a fire breaks out. Lastly, number 9, develop a fire preparedness plan. A fire preparedness plan is a floor plan containing the possible sources of fire and a guide on what a person can do in the event of a fire incident. It gives us an idea of how one can save himself in case of a fire in their homes, workplace, and in school. It presents the location of the fire exits that people can pass through to immediately evacuate the area. It should also show the location of fire assembly points, designated safe areas where people can go in case of a fire.
Now you already know what is fire and the three elements of fire, namely heat, fuel, and oxygen, and the four stages of fire development, namely incipient stage, growth stage, fully developed stage, and decay stage.
And you already know the things that causes fires, including the 9 precautionary and safety measures in order to prevent fires.
At this point, we have an activity which is recognizing fire elements. So I read the situation and Lero Aguilar answer the three elements, which is heat, fuel, and oxygen. The direction is in each situation, you are going to identify the elements of fire. So first situation. Smoking a cigarette in the bedroom. What is your answer in heat?
Lighted cigarette,
Okay, in fuel,
blankets and pillows,
in oxygen.
air in the room.
Okay, next situation. Unattended cooking. What is your answer in heat?
I think the fire from the stove,
Okay, and then the fuel.
cooking oil or LPG.
Okay, and then the oxygen.
Of course, air in the kitchen or room.
Okay, very good. So next, the last situation. Forest wildfire. What is your answer in the elements of heat?
Of course, sun.
Sun. Next, fuel.
Dried leaves or grass.
Okay, and then the oxygen.
Air in the surroundings or wind.
Okay, very good. So I have a last questions for you, and I hope you can answer. It's just an easy questions. Okay, my question is, what is the relevance of recognizing the different elements of the fire triangle in each situation?
Okay. Recognizing the different fire elements in each fire situation is necessary so one can pinpoint what he or she can eliminate to stop the fire from causing more destruction. The observation of the changes in the surroundings would help to prevent or lessen the negative effects of hydrometeorological disasters.
Wow, what a nice answer, Lyra. Thank you for answer. Next, we have an activity 3. So the directions for this activity 3 is analyze the images below and identify the sources of ignition and fuel. And you are going to explain how this may start a fire. Okay, in picture number 1. What would be the possible fuel sources based on the picture?
Okay, based on the picture, the possible fuel sources there would be cooking oil or LPG.
Okay, and then how it may start a fire?
It may start a fire through spills near the stove, unchecked LPG hose.
Okay, and then what would be the possible source of ignition?
The source of ignition would be gas stove, matches, electrical sockets.
And then how it may start a fire?
It may start a fire through unattended cooking and cluttered workplace or workspace and overloaded electrical sockets.
Okay, very good. So next, picture number 2. In picture number 2, what is the possible fuel sources based on the picture?
Okay, the possible fuel sources based on the picture would be gasoline cans, oil, grease spills on the floor, and unlabeled fuel cans or containers.
And how it may start a fire?
It may start a fire through spills may accidentally be in contact with fire.
And then the source of ignition based on the picture.
The source of ignition might be electrical tools and equipment or cigarette.
Okay, and then how it may start a fire?
It may start a fire through unattended cooking, throwing of lighted cigarettes on the floor, overloaded electrical sockets, and chemical reaction of unlabeled substances.
Okay, very good, Lyra. And that's all for today's video.
Thank you so much for watching.
Bye!